Today, the people of Israel are under attack, orchestrated by a terrorist organization, Hamas. In this moment of tragedy, I want to say to them and to the world and to terrorists everywhere that the United States stands with Israel. We will not ever fail to have their back. We'll make sure that they have the help their citizens need and they can continue to defend themselves. You know, the world's seen appalling images. Thousands of rockets in the space of hours raining down on Israeli cities. When I got up this morning, started this at 7:30, 8 o'clock, my calls. Hamas terrorists crossing in Israel, killing not only Israeli soldiers, but Israeli civilians. In the street, in their homes, innocent people murdered, wounded, entire families taken hostage by Hamas. Just days after Israel marked the holiest of days in the Jewish calendar. Israel has the right to defend itself and its people. Full stop. There's never justification for terrorist attacks. Let me say this as clearly as I can. This is not a moment for any party hostile to Israel to exploit these attacks to seek advantage. The world is watching. I've also been in contact with the King of Jordan, spoken with members of Congress, directed my national security team to engage with their Israeli counterparts, military to military, intelligence to intelligence, diplomat to diplomat, to make sure Israel has what it needs.
An intelligence failure in the lead up to this attack?
This is Business 360, and my name is Blyden Kim. Quite concerning events unfolding in the world as Joe Biden has spoken, the President of the United States, regarding the conflict in the Middle East. Meanwhile, oil surges as conflict erupts in Middle East. WTI and Brent crude futures jumped about 4% to above $86 and $87 per barrel, respectively, at the early hours of this morning, recouping some losses from last week after a surprise attack by Hamas on Israel over the weekend raised geopolitical risks in the Middle East. Quite concerning, but let's also look at a conversation from a global economic perspective. The expected data to be released this week. In the United States, attention will be on the inflation report, FOMC meeting minutes, a speech by Federal Reserve officials, wholesale price data, and Michigan Consumer Confidence Index. Talking about data to be released this week, the week also heralds the start of the earnings seasons, with major companies like Citigroup, JP Morgan Chase, BlackRock, United Health Group, Pepsi Corporation, and Delta Airlines reporting. International focus will be on inflation rates in China, Mexico, India, Brazil, and Russia. Additionally, China will release its trade balance, producers price index inflation, and new yuan loans data, while the United Kingdom will provide monthly gross domestic product figures. Australia will reveal Westpac consumer confidence and NAB business confidence data, and Germany will share insights into its industrial production. In Africa, inflation data, interest rate data, and private sector performance data will be out. Still discussing on business all around the world. Over half, about 57% of the world's poorest countries are having to cut public expenditure by a combined $229 billion over the next 5 years. Entire nations are teetering on the brink of bankruptcy, with the poorest countries now spending 4 times more repaying debts to rich creditors than on healthcare. Oxfam has called on the IMF and the World Bank to use the crisis to create a fairer system rather than focusing on debt restructure and spending cuts. In Africa, Ghana has reached agreement with the International Monetary Fund IMF on the terms for a second payment of $600 million out of its $3 billion credit deal, according to the IMF. A payment of the second portion of Ghana's loan will come after the IMF board's final approval and bring the total disbursed since May to to $1.2 billion. Ghana signed a deal with the IMF in December as the country sought to shore up its public finances and better manage debt to emerge from its worst economic crisis in decades. We're looking at the business in Africa and Ghana. Let's find out more regarding the conversation.
We're front-loading such that, God willing, by November, we actually will then have released 1.2 billion of the 3 billion effective in that. So truly a lot of work has gone into this to give Ghana the opportunity to stabilize much faster.
Dynamics is better than what we were anticipating. I think this is really very good news. On the stability front, I would say this is the same. Inflation is coming down. International reserves of the central bank are going up, which is also very important to both.
In Niger slashes the 2023 budget by 40% due to international sanctions after the July coup. Uncertainty surrounds budget reduction as details of where cuts will occur remain quite undisclosed. Meanwhile, a growing debt burden also adds to Niger's economic challenges. The announcement stated that the budget for this year, which was originally estimated to be 3.29 trillion francs, an equivalent of $5.3 billion, had been reduced to 1.98 trillion in Niger. Now to Kenya. Kenyan President William Ruto, along with the heads of two major finance and climate institutions, said, without a 10 to 20-year grace period for interest repayment or interest payment on foreign debt, Africa will struggle to address the challenges posed by climate change. Kenya's President Akinwumi Adesina also, Musa Faki Mohammed and Patrick Vokunjen are called for a pause in interest repayment on debt for African nations. Out of the 52 low and middle-income nations that have faced debt default or been on the brink of it in the past 3 years, 23 of them are located in Africa. Without a 10 to 20-year grace period for interest payment on foreign debt, Africa will struggle to address the challenges posed by climate change, they said. Let's come a bit back home in Nigeria. Nigeria rallied on foreign borrowing $1.21 billion to boost its capital importation in the first 6 months of 2023. This is as 28 states failed to attract any foreign investment in the time under review, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. In 2023, total capital importation dropped by 30.42% year-on-year in the first half of 2023 to $2.16 billion from $3.11 billion from the corresponding period of 2022. As issues such as insecurity and difficult business environment continue to impact foreign direct investment into Nigeria, the country has become increasingly reliant on loans to boost capital importation. Meanwhile, foreign investment in forms of loans grew by 17.43% to $1.21 billion in the first half of 2023 from $1.03 billion as of the corresponding period of 2022. Still in Nigeria, the federal government on Sunday provided more reasons why it decided to suspend the N-Power program, stating that the scheme had ghost beneficiaries, while some of its consultants were currently withholding participants' funds. Over 1 million Nigerians had lost their jobs under the N-Power program following the indefinite suspension of the scheme by the government, as announced by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Beta Edu. The N-Power program was established by the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari to address youth unemployment, as beneficiaries were paid 30,000 naira monthly stipend, and quite concerning, it's been suspended. Meanwhile, the federal government, through the Association of Power Generation Companies, APGC, has grown the power capacity of the national grid from 13,000 megawatts recorded a few years ago to about 14,000 megawatts. APGC's Executive Secretary, Dr. Joy Ogaji, while speaking at Nigeria's 2023 Annual International Strategic Conference, said electricity generation capacity to the national grid has increased to almost 14,000 megawatts. Dr. Ogaji explained that the increase was brought about due to the addition of a $1.3 billion Niger State-based 700 megawatt Zenguru, which came on stream in the second quarter of this year. Still in Nigeria, the Vice President Kashim Shettima has directed the Investment in Digital and Creative Enterprises (IDES) team to ensure that the program commences before the end of November. And gave the directive on Friday when the team updated him on its progress at a meeting in the presidential Villa Abuja. He said President Bola Tinubu's administration was determined to deliver on its promise to create millions of jobs in the technology space in Nigeria, noting that the administration proposed November 2023 to launch the $617.7 million investment program. And lastly, from a Nigerian point of view, Marvin Records, the Nigerian music label under the ownership of Don Jazzy, is reportedly considering options for a sale or investments. Significant bids have emerged from industry giants like Universal Music Group and Hype, according to sources, a Billboard. Founded in 2012, Marvin Records has become a major force in African music. The deal is estimated to be valued between $125 million and $200 million, and Shot Tower Capital, an independent investment bank, is actively facilitating the negotiation process. The strategic move by Marvin Records is aimed at raising funds to fuel its growth, especially considering the anticipated global prominence of the African music industry in years ahead, according to Billboard. We'll go on a short break. When we return, it would be analysis of the market as gold prices jump on heightened geopolitical risks. Don't go anywhere.
Beginning on Saturday, the Palestinian militant group Hamas launched an estimated 3,500 rockets from Gaza into Israel, according to the Israeli military. As Israelis sought shelter, they had an added layer of protection. Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system, a land-based system that intercepts and destroys short-range rockets and mortars. It has become a bedrock of the country's defense since its introduction in 2011. Israeli military said the Iron Dome is currently operating at the same capacity as previous rounds, with a 90% success rate. Here's how the complex detection and interception system works. The system is powered by missile defense batteries, each consisting of 3 main components. These batteries can defend against short-range rocket and mortar attacks within almost 45 miles of the battery. They're also mobile, so they can be moved to where they are needed. First, a radar unit detects an incoming rocket and relays information about its speed and trajectory to the battery's control center. The control center's computers calculate if the rocket is going to hit populated areas. If it is, a missile is fired from the launcher. Each launcher contains 20 interceptor missiles. Each receives constant guidance updates from the control center in its internal radar. The missile destroys the incoming rocket by exploding near it. The goal is to do this far away from populated areas, minimizing damage on the ground. As of 2021, the defense system had intercepted over 2,400 rockets bound for civilian areas since its launch in 2011, according to an Israeli military spokesperson. During a conflict in 2012, the Iron Dome knocked down 421 rockets launched from Gaza and bound for Israeli cities before a November ceasefire. And during the 2014 war in Gaza, it intercepted 700 rockets fired by Hamas, effectively blunting the group's aerial effect. The United States has provided over $1 billion in funding for the system, and has also bought and is testing 2 Iron Dome batteries of its own. in 2021.
Welcome back. It is Business 360, and my name is Blyden Kim. Now looking at the commodity market and geopolitical risks. Gold price jumped 1% to around $150 an ounce today, extending gains from the previous session as the Israeli-Hamas conflict extended into a third day, raising geopolitical risks in the Middle East. A Palestinian militant group, Hamas, launched a surprise attack on Israel on Saturday, spurring a series of retaliations from the latter and resulting in a combined death toll of more than 1,100 from both sides. Quite concerning. Investors were also wary of a wider conflict amid allegations of Iranian involvement in the attacks. On Friday, the metal gained 0.7% amid a pullback in dollar, even as a stronger than expected U.S. jobs report found rates concerns. Higher interest rates raise the opportunity cost of holding non-yielding bullion and make gold less attractive to investors and vice versa. Now let's quickly go to the market and see what the prices would be this morning for the commodity market, beginning with the metal and afterwards the energy and industrial market this morning. The metal market this morning is indicating gold price moving higher amid all these political concerns, hitting 18.96 points gain this morning, a 1.03% appreciation. Current price for gold is $1,851 per ounce. Silver price, it's moving upward slightly, but the volatility level for it is quite low, 0.07 points increase, $21 per ounce. Copper also moving higher slightly this morning, but steel prices downward this morning by 48 points amid the concerns in China regarding the real estate market, with the value of Evergrande dropping in the market, 3,622 Chinese yuan per ton. Iron ore, no significant difference in the market, lithium similar story, and platinum gaining 5.4 points. Let's look at the energy market, what the price of the energy commodities are. Crude oil is upward this morning amid all these concerns, a 2.9 points gain, $85 per barrel for the U.S. crude, the West Texas Intermediate crude. For Brent, which is Nigeria's price benchmark, current price is $87 per barrel, upward by 2.51 points, a 2.97% appreciation. And natural gas, a little here, a little there. Gasoline, same story. Heating oil, similar story. Coal prices downward by 1.5 points, and TTF gas upward 3.92 points. Industrial market. The price of industrial commodities has its fair share of a drop in the market, bitumen being the biggest hit, dropping 164 points, 3,809 Chinese yuan per ton is the price of bitumen, a decline of 4.13 percentage points. A cobalt price has no significant difference, a 6th week in a row now. For cobalt, current price for cobalt is $33,420 per ton. Our lead price is upward by 15.35 points, aluminium upward 4.5 points, and tin gaining a massive 505 points, a gain of 2.09% appreciation. For the price of zinc, upward by 14 points. Let's look at the agricultural commodities, what the prices for these agricultural commodities are this morning. A soybean price has gained 8.25 points this morning, $1,274 per bushel. Wheat price upward by 10.39 points, $578 per bushel. Palm oil is gaining 7 points this morning, 3,607 Malaysian ringgit per ton. And that is a story from the commodities. Let's look at the foreign exchange market, looking at the FX update for this morning. We hear that Swedish krona drops by 0.9%. Gains are led in the market by dollar index, a 0.48% increase, but top currency losers are the Swedish krona, a negative 0.9%, Mexican peso at negative 0.83%, and South Korean won a negative 0.64%. Well, there have been complications for Bitcoin, but let's move to the market and see what the prices are. The euro against the US dollar and afterwards Naira's perspective. The euro against the US dollar is still within the 1.05 point mark, same old from last week's market performance, dropping slightly, 0.006 points this morning, a negative 0.57% decline for the pound against the US dollar. The volatility level is quite low, but the majors are dropping in price against the US dollar, a pound to US dollar 1.21 point mark. Quickly, let's look at Naira's perspective in the market and what the price of Nigeria's currency is against the majors. US dollar to Naira, 771 Naira 54 kobo equals $1. On a yearly basis, it's been 77.86% appreciation for the dollar against the Naira. For the euro against the Naira, it's a gain of 1.29 points at a closure of Friday's market. Current level, it's 804 Naira equaling €1. And similar story, a gain of 1.19 points for the pound against the Naira. 929 Naira equaled £1. Let's move to the parallel market and see what the changes would be in the morning market. The dollar to Naira indicates a buying rate of 1,000, away from the 990-something level to the 1,000 level now. 1,000 Naira equals $1, the buying rate, and selling rate 982 Naira to the dollar. The pounds to Naira, it's 1,245 Naira equaling £1, at a buying rate and selling rate 1,230 Naira. The euro to Naira stands at 1,045 Naira for €1 at the buying rate and selling rate 1,030 Naira. And quickly, let's look at the digital coin. What the prices for Bitcoin, Ethereum and the rest seem to be this morning. It's been a bloodbath in the cryptocurrency market. Bitcoin dropping 348 points this morning, Ether dropping 40.65 points. Current price for Bitcoin is $27,574 for Ether. The price is $1,596. Binance dropping 5.1 points. Cardano, Solana, Ripple, a little here, a little there, but under negative. Volatility level for those space quite low. Good time to look at global stocks market, beginning with U.S. futures as the futures fall on Middle East violence. U.S. stock futures fell this morning as conflict erupted, which we've talked about in the Middle East. The Dow, S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 futures were all down at least 0.5%. Investors now look ahead to inflation data and fresh commentary from Federal Reserve officials this week to guide their outlook further. Well, quickly, let's look at the United States Stock Market Index 500 and see what the action is in that market. The Stock Market Index 500 from the United States. The expectations of the market has been from different outlook, but first of all, let's look at the Asian stock before we go into the market. The Asian equity market were mixed today, according to actions and result from the Middle East. Australian shares rose as geopolitical risks drove oil and gold prices higher, lifting the resource-heavy bourse. While meanwhile, stocks in mainland China fell as traders returned from the week-long Golden Week holiday. Elsewhere, a morning trade in Hong Kong was suspended due to a typhoon, while markets in South Korea and Japan were shut for national holiday. Now the Asian market has given negative implications this morning after some imbalances in the early hours of the morning. The JP 225 stock, despite having index level of 30,995, dropped 81 basis points this morning. Shanghai stock also struggling this morning. The Shanghai 50 struggling, also dropping 8 points this morning. And Sensex dropping massive 483 points this morning. 65,512 is the all-share index level for the market. Let's look at the African stock market and what the prices are for the African stocks this morning. Nigerian stock market is gaining 669 points, whooping 67,123 index level, but South African 40 also gaining 453 points, South African all gaining 480 points. And the Nigerian stock market this morning, what the identity would be: Dangote Cement slightly upward and Bois Cement slightly upward. And here we draw the curtain on today's edition of Business 360. Thank you for being a part of it. We return tomorrow for further conversation.